After just 12 games in charge, Steve Cooper's tenure at Leicester City is over, with the Foxes only 1 point ahead of the relegation zone, with the East Midlands club now turning to a Manchester United legend to save their season. Welcome then to the Leicester City Ruud van Nistelrooy rebuild. This rebuild won't end until we lift the most coveted trophy in world football, the Champions League. Let's get into it. This is where we are taking over then following our loss to Chelsea. Our first game will be away to Brentford. This is the team that we are starting off then, and let me just say there is absolutely no way this team should be in a relegation fight. There might not be any obvious superstars, but there isn't any weaknesses across the board. This team has also got a lot of depth with decent ratings throughout. Obviously we're in the middle of November, so we don't have any time for transfers just yet, but coming into January I think we'll need a new defender and maybe a new attacker as well. First things first, we wrapped up a new deal for our captain Jamie Vardy. I want him here till the end. I don't care if he's rated 40, we're wheeling him out in the Champions League final. For now, in terms of tactics, we're going for a counter-attacking style at least until we can establish ourselves in the Premier League again. We also went ahead and hired some coaches as per usual. In terms of finances, we've got 36 million to spend in January, but let's just go to the end of January now and see how we're going, and we'll see where we want to spend this money. Coming into the end of January then, I may have overestimated the ability of this squad. Just to note, we did have a tough run of games, including Newcastle, Liverpool, Man City, and then Aston Villa as well, but we also had some very winnable games against Crystal Palace and Fulham. We're actually yet to record a win as manager of Leicester, but now it's time to get some transfer business done to improve the squad. First signing then of the new era wrapped up, as we rescue Mason Mount from his Manchester United nightmare and make him our first signing. He joins from Man United for 18 million. And with that, we've made a signing to improve our defense as well, bringing Harry Maguire back to the King Power Stadium. Our second signing from Manchester United then, as we sign Maguire for 10 million. He's not a long-term option, but he's a significant improvement on our current centre-backs for this season. Honestly, the signings of Harry Maguire and Mason Mount just about drained what budget we did have, so I think that's where we'll wrap it up for now for January business. A little bit of money we do have left, I might try and see if I can find any pre-contract deals before the end of the season. But for now, let's jump to the end of the season and see if Ruud van Nistelrooy can turn around this year and make it a successful campaign for us in the Premier League. It means the end of the season then, and we did end up surviving. We finished in 16th place. We also ended up with 16 draws, which I think was one of the reasons that we didn't push up the table further. Look, it wasn't a great season by any means, but we're in the Premier League next year and that's what matters. We also picked up some huge wins, by the way, with a 1-0 win over Man City and a 3-2 win over Liverpool. In terms of the competitions then, we went out in the third round of the FA Cup. West Ham would go on to win that one with a 2-1 win over Spurs. Over in the Carabao Cup, Manchester United knocked us out, but this was before we took over. Newcastle eventually would go on to win the Carabao Cup with a 4-1 win over Liverpool. The Champions League was won by Bayern Munich over Liverpool, again losing another final this year. Jose Mourinho lifted another Europa League title, this time with Fenerbahce beating his old team Roma in the final. And finally, Chelsea won the Conference League this year with a 1-0 win over Fiorentina. In terms of stats for us then, Jamie Vardy bagged 23 goals for us, not bad for a 38-year-old. Mavropanos got 11 while Bonate got 6, Mount got 4. As for assists, Bonate got 7 as well. That about wraps up season 1 though, nothing to really scream or shout about, but a solid season just for kind of steadying the ship for Ruud van Nistelrooy here. We're going to have a solid summer transfer window, get some good investment into the squad, then we should be able to push on to the top half of the table next year. Let's go. Here we are then, season 2, let's get into it. The board haven't exactly been generous, giving us only 40 million to push on in the Premier League, so we may have to look at some departures here. In terms of the team, this is how we're looking then. As much as I like Jamie Vardy, I think we need to bring in a top-class striker. Another area of weakness is our left back, but Christiansen has so much potential. We're probably just going to have a look around the leagues and see if we can get any bargains across the board, and we'll see where they fit. We've had an absolutely huge clear out in the summer to try and get rid of some of this dead weight. Probably the biggest outgoing we had was Abdul Fatawa. He wanted to leave. I didn't want him to go, but after they want to leave, there's not much you can do. We just had to goodbye to a lot of fringe players who just aren't going to get time in the team. With that though, it frees up a significant chunk of change to move forward with 92 million in the bank. After a successful stint over in Italy, Ademola Lookman is coming back to the Premier League. We got the Nigerian striker on a cut price deal of only 22 million with his contract running out at the end of the year. He's versatile and could be a striker, cam, or even on the wings for us. That's a great signing, I think. We're pretty much going to have to keep on continuing to target players in the last year of their contract if we want to sign the quality player that we're trying to sign. This time it is Johan Bakayoko, the Belgian winger signing from PSV for 27.5 million. Next up then we're going to cross to Arsenal for the next signing, bringing in Kieran Tierney for 8 million for a left back option. Next up then we're bringing a cultural icon back to the Premier League. It's none other than Mr. Gucci headband himself, Alan St-Maximin. He had enough of his time in Saudi and came back for 12 million from Al Ahly. And with that, our summer business is done. We've signed an entirely new front three of St-Maximin, Lookman and Bakayoko. The signing of Tierney at left back as well just helps shore up the defense. I would have liked to bring a new right back as well, but money wise we are well and truly spent for now. We were actually able to squeeze out one more signing, bringing in Nick Pope from Newcastle for 6.5 million. I still have faith in Hermanson in the long run, but for now we're going to bring in an 83 rated keeper to replace him. That for now about wraps up the summer business then. Let's jump into January and see how things are going in our second season in charge of Leicester with Ruud van Nistelrooy. Here we are at the midway point of the season then, and what a turnaround it has been. After 19 games, we currently find ourselves sitting in 6th place. We are well on our way to a European spot this year. We're still losing games, so we have 8 losses. What we have done is turn those draws into wins, and we picked up some huge wins throughout the season, including back-to-back wins over both both Manchester clubs at the start of December. Some sad news though, Jamie Vardy has decided to retire at the end of the season, meaning he will not get any taste of Champions League football with us when we get there. I think this will be a small January transfer update, as I did try and find some players to sign on pre-contracts, but I couldn't find anyone that was running out next year. Nothing too exciting, but we did sign Romeo Lavio on a 2-year loan deal. He just provides some good depth and should turn into a good player that we might try and sign on a permanent deal in the future. I also looked far and wide and I couldn't find a single defender that would actually come here on loan, so I kind of just gave up on that, but I would have liked to bring a new centre back on loan. That will wrap up a very quiet January update. Let's now jump to the end of the season and see how things have gone in Ruud van Nistelrooy's second year in charge. And here we are at the end of the season then, and we fell off a cliff. I mean, finishing 12th is a much better season than we had last time, and getting 45 points is a significant upgrade and a step in the right direction, but it's still not good enough. I think considering this is still only our second year back in the Premier League, though, we will take 12th and use it as a stepping stone to move in the top half of the table next year. It was Man City who would go on to actually win the league, just beating out Aston Villa and Arsenal. Over in the FA Cup, we went out in the 4th round, losing on penalties to Crystal Palace. Arsenal would go on to win the FA Cup. They'd also completed a domestic double, picking up the Carabao Cup as well. We went out in round 2 of this competition at the hands of Sheffield Wednesday. The Super Cup was won by Fenerbahce at the start of the season. It was Real Madrid who won an El Clasico in the Champions League final. The Europa League was won by PSV, beating out Man City 4-2. And finally, the Conference League was won by Napoli with a 3-1 win over Panathinaikos. Quick look at the stats there. Now front three were firing: 18 goals for Lookman, 15 for Bakayoko, and 11 for St. Maximin. They were also leading the line with assists as well, Bakayoko getting 8 and Lookman and St. Maximin getting 6 between them. A little bit disappointing with Nick Pope. He only managed 4 clean sheets all season though. In terms of contract, after Jamie Vardy is retiring at the end of the season and Patson Daka has agreed to join Brentford when his contract finishes. Jordan Ayew is also retiring too, but he's 65, so not too bothered. But that will wrap up season 2 then for Ruud van Nistelrooy in charge of Leicester. Not a spectacular season by any means, but a good stepping stone. Let's now get into season 3. Alright, season 3, and we've got 46 million to spend. Again, that's not that much, and we don't have the privilege of having a clear out this year either. And this is how the team is looking heading into season 3 then. We had the season to keep Leicester up, we had the season to steady the ship, and now is the time of pushing the top half of the table. And we really need to focus on the defense in this transfer window though, and potentially bring in 2 new centre halves and a right back. First bit of business done and done then, as we signed Keke Top from Werder Bremen. Not a very exciting signing, but we need a backup striker. He comes in at 74 rated at 22, so plenty of room to grow here. And it was nice while it lasted, but we have decided to cash in on Harry Maguire as his overall started to decline. He joined Brentford for 7.7 million. Maguire was one of 4 sales, though we also moved on Vestergaard, Nelson and Harry Winks to try and free up some funding. Speaking of, we now have 64 million to reinvest back into the team. And with that, we've made our first addition to the defense for this season. Austrian Kevin Danzo signing from RC Lens in France. He joins for £19 million. And we've established a new centre-back partnership as well, as we confirmed the signing of Pierre Kalulu from AC Milan. He signs on for 20 million. Final bit of business here done then, as we signed left-back Callum Doyle from City for 10 million. Decent rating with a lot of potential. The plan was to bring in a right-back, but I couldn't find one that I liked, so I went for Doyle instead at left-back, and I'll move Teeny over to right-back. This is how the team is looking then: a front three of St. Maximin, Lookman and Bakayoko, a midfield trio of Mount, Lavia and Ndidi, and a backline of Doyle, Danzo, Kalulu, Tierney and Nick Pope in goal. I think the signings 100% make the side better. We still need some new midfielders at some point, but that might have to come next season. That's just the nature of these rebuilds. It's going to take a few years to get to where we need to be. And that's going to wrap up our summer business. Let's now jump ahead in the season and see how we're traveling. We didn't have a pot to piss in January, so we are straight into the end of season update then. And we ended up the season finishing in 10th, our first top half finish of the save. Ideally, I wanted Ruud van Nistelrooy to push Leicester into the European spots by now, but this rebuild is really taken out of us. But there's still plenty of positives to take, including this is our first season with a positive win-loss ratio. Further up the league then, Manchester United did actually win the Premier League this year. As for the FA Cup, we got Chelsea in the 3rd round and lost on penalties. Liverpool went on to win that one with a 2-1 win over Newcastle. As for the Carabao Cup, we had a round 2 exit against Brentford. Man City would go on to win that title with a 3-2 win over Man United. Man City also won the Super Cup as well as the Champions League. The Europa League was won by Liverpool, and a Conference League win for Brighton wrapped up an English trio of winners. Quick check in the stats then, it was the front 3 firing again. Bakayoko with 21, Lookman with 20 and Alan Smaxton with 11. As for assists, Bakayoko got 10, St. Maximin got 7, and this free agent we signed Robert Larson got 5. Overall, it was the best year of the career mode so far, securing a top half finish for the first time. Surely if we strengthen the midfield though, we should be able to push on to the Europa League spots this year. Let's now jump into season 4 and see what we can do with the squad to move on. Here we are then, season 4, and still the board is not digging deep in their pockets to serve us here. Only 49 million to spend, that's not enough to push on. I had no intention of selling this guy, but 82.5 million to go back to the club we signed him from. It's too much money to resist. For a 29-year-old, we can really invest that 82.5 million back into the squad. I think this is the right move. Only time will tell whether this was the right choice or not, but let's find out. I mean, with that sale, we now have 119 million to reinvest into the squad. For me, I think it's obvious we need a new striker, of course, and also 2 new midfielders, and potentially a new fullback as well. On FC25, fullbacks are actually incredibly hard to find, so we might struggle there, but we'll see what we can do. The striker and midfielder are our 2 priorities. so. First signing of the summer then wrapped up, we signed holding midfielder Niklas Seiwald from the German league. He comes in from RB Leipzig for 20 million. At age 26, he's 82 overall, so he's a clear upgrade on the current options. Another midfielder up next then, we signed João Gomes from Wolves. The Brazilian CDM signed for 20 million. He comes in at 26 as well, 83 rated, so he'll pair nicely with Seiwald. Next up then, we've pulled off an absolute blinder, signing one of the best young prospects in world football, Rico Lewis. For whatever reason, he was transfer listed at Leverkusen, so we got him for a cut price deal of 25 million. And the spending spree isn't slowing down yet as we sign Balogun from Monaco, the American international, joining for 23.5 million. Just some other departures to note then, we did say goodbye to Christensen and Didi and Justin to try and free up some funds for another player to come in the club. Final signing of the summer then, and we found a long-term left back, Milos Kerkez, Hungarian fullback, signing from PSG for 22.5 million. So with those signings, this is how the team is looking. I think we've taken a massive step forward this window. Obviously losing Lookman hurt, but we've reinvested that money really well in the team. We do have a little bit left in the bank, but I think it's just going to be used to shore up some contracts for the future. But for now, let's jump ahead into the season and see how we're travelling in our 4th year in charge of Leicester as Ruud van Nistelrooy. And here we are then, just over the halfway point of the season, and we're currently sitting in 9th, which isn't too bad. It's not great, but it's not awful. In terms of transfers, we did say goodbye to Bilal El Kanous. He went across to the Serie A for 24.5 million. That's left us with 40 million to spend in the January transfer window. The only real position I want to improve right now is goalkeeper, as Nick Pope is steadily going down over time. I'm going to try and see who's available and see who we can bring in. It took a little bit longer than expected, but we did find our long-term goalkeeper option here. Philip Jorgensen signing from Chelsea for 25 million. And I just think I realised why I got him for so cheap. He is injured, but only for another 4 weeks. So not too bad, not great, but not too bad. And that brings us to the end of our little winter pit stop. Let's now jump to the end of the season and see if we can finally push on to the European spots. And here we are at the end of the season. We have finally broken into the top 7, confirming a Conference League spot for next year. It took a lot of hard work, but we're finally on the right track, and hopefully next year we can push into the Europa League, potentially even in the Champions League, but there is still a 17-point gap between us and top 4. We had another tough draw in the FA Cup this year, going up to Newcastle in round 3. Man City would go on to eventually win that. Man City would also win the Carabao Cup, as we lost to Chelsea on penalties in round 4. City also brought home the Champions League, winning 3-1 against Real Madrid, while another English team, Aston Villa, won the Europa League with a 1-0 win over Roma, and once again a full English sweep of the European competitions as Arsenal win the Conference League. Quick look at the stats then, and Balogun really took to life in the Premier League, scoring 23 goals, while St. Maximin and Bakayoko got 17 and 15 respectively. As for assists, it was Bakayoko with 11, the only guy to get double digits for us. And that will wrap up season 4 then, finally into the European leagues, as we will compete in the Conference League next season. Taking a lot longer than planned, but here we go into our 5th season of the Leicester City rebuild under Ruud van Nistelrooy. Thanks to other teams' success in cup competitions, then we're actually going to be competing in the Europa League this year, not the Conference League. And the board aren't messing around, as they expect us to win the competition on our first try. As for domestic success, they want us to finish in the Europa League spots again, but also to win the FA Cup this year, so no pressure. And the board have given us 59 million to spend on new players. I mean, that's what, maybe 2 new players, if that. They're serious about us winning the Europa League and the FA Cup. You need to give us more money than that. Come on, Leicester. This is the team we have heading into our 5th season then. In terms of improvements, I want to bring in a new left winger with St. Maximin, now 31, so he's going to start declining soon. I also want to bring in a star attacking midfielder. Mason Mount has been really good throughout this Careermode save so far, but it's time to take the next step. In terms of other positions, I'll have a look for bargains around the league, but right now the only 2 positions I'm focusing on are attacking midfield and left winger. Just some quick transfer business, so goodbye to Golding, Mavidi and Sutar as we head into the new season. And we have made our first signing of the window then. Comes in as one of the world's best. Desire Doué, I think I'm saying that right. I'm probably not. I'm probably butchering it. But anyway, we signed for 40 million from PSG. And he slots in nicely on the left-hand side of the front 3. And after a bit of work, we did finally secure the attacking midfielder as well. Pablo Torre signing from West Ham. He came in a swap deal worth 25 million plus Callum Doyle. I didn't really want to get rid of Callum Doyle, but I ran out of money. This happens when the board only gives you limited funds for the season. Anyway, with Torre and Doué in the squad, we are looking so much stronger now. I think this season we really have to start pushing up the top 4 and qualify for the Champions League for next year. And I think with that about wraps up our summer business. Let's now jump into the season and see how things go in the 5th year of this Leicester Careermode. And for the first time, we are competing in the Europa League. And straight into the end of the season we go, as there wasn't much happening in January. And we had comfortably our best season to date, wrapping up 2nd place in the Premier League. We were in a title fight with Man City for a while, but they just kind of pulled away towards the end of the season. By far and away our best season so far, and I'm really happy with that performance. Over in the FA Cup, we went out to eventual winners Manchester United, who beat Crystal Palace 2-1 in the final. We also went out to Manchester United in the Carabao Cup, but this time Man City went on to win this competition. PSG beat AC Milan 1-0 in the Champions League final. In the Europa League, we made it to the quarter-final stage, getting knocked out on penalties by SC Braga. We'd actually go on to win the competition in an all-Portuguese affair final. And finally, Austrian team Sturm Graz won the Conference League with a 2-1 win over Feyenoord. Check in with the stats then, and our front 4 were absolutely firing this season. Balogun got 27 in all competitions, with Bakayoko getting 25. Doué and Torre got 17 and 13 each. Doué and Torre are also the ones leading the assist line with 13 and 12 respectively. And a huge season for Philip Jorgensen as well, got 13 clean sheets. trophies, which led to him actually getting the Golden Glove Award in the Premier League. And that wraps up Season 5, then still no silverware to talk about, but we are finally into the Champions League. Let's go. Season 6 then, let's get into it. And the board are finally bankrolling us now that we're in the Champions League with a budget of 123 million. That is absolutely huge. So this is the team as we head into Season 6 then. Pretty strong across the board in every position, especially Bakayoko is up to a 90 rated now. In terms of transfers this season, I'm just going to look at who's available. I don't think there's any one position we really need a player in. I'm just going to see where the best players in the world are available for a good price, and we'll go from there. And here we have our first signing of the new window then. We signed Odilon Kosunu from Monaco. The centre half joins at 37.5 million and comes in at 86 rated. Next up then, we confirmed another signing, this time for the midfield, signing André Santos from Chelsea. We got the Brazilian midfielder in for 45 million. He comes in at 86 rated, and he'll slot in there nicely alongside Vald. And honestly, that about does it for business for now. Those two signings more or less drain what money we have left. I think we have maybe about 20 million. So what I'm going to do is start swimming through this season. If we get any transfer offers for players, I'll consider it for a reinvestment in January. Just completely ignore what I said about waiting until January for any more transfers. So we end up signing Piero Hincapié from Brighton? From Brighton, yes. We signed him for Kevin Danzo plus 10 million after Danzo put in a transfer request. So it didn't make any sense for him to be at the club if he didn't want to be here. Let's now jump to the end of the season and see how our first foray into the Champions League goes. And here we are at the end of the 6th season, and we ended up 4th in the Premier League. Frustratingly, we were only 2 points off the top of the table. It was actually a really poor season from pretty much every team in the league this year. If you look at Man City, they finished on 69 points. They only finished 10 points ahead of Wolves in 11th. The Premier League was so close this year, it was crazy. We did, however, bring home our first bit of silverware with the FA Cup, and we also won the Carabao Cup earlier in the season as well. We made it through the Champions League stage in 11th place, and in the playoff round, we knocked out FC Bayern Munich with a 2-1 win over aggregate. In the round of 16 then, we went past Real Sociedad 4-6. In the quarter-final, we got past Liverpool 4-3, and in the semi-final, we beat PSG 4-3 in aggregate to go through to our first ever Champions League final. But before we play this game against Man City, let's go have a look at the stats for the season. Bakayoko absolutely killed it this year, getting 35 goals and 19 assists. Balogun got 34 goals and 6 assists, and Desiree Doué got 16 goals and 6 assists as well. Pablo Torre had a good season as well from Cam, getting 14 goals and 11 assists. But let's not waste any more time, let's get into the Champions League final. And it all comes down to this. This is how Manchester City look like they're going to line up. A front three of Savinho, Haaland and Rodrigo. A midfield trio of Lewis Millie, Nilsson and Matheus Nunes. And a backline of Juric, Mabete, Scholes and Sau. And a Polish guy in goal whose name I'm not even going to try and butcher. For us though, it's our strongest lineup. Doué, Balogun and Bakayoko make up the front three. Pablo Torres spearing ahead the midfield trio of him, Santos and Saivald. A backline of Kerkez, Casono, Hincapié and Lewis. And then Philip Jorgensen in goal. Here we are then, it all comes down to this, Leicester City versus Manchester City in the Champions League final. It's been 6 long years of hard work for Ruud van Nistelrooy as they make their way at the pitch. Legacy to be defined across the next 90 minutes, 120 minutes if needed, but let's not waste any more time. Trying to work something early here, Doué plays into Balogun, Balogun turning, waiting for that run, subs into Doué, if you're trying to get the shot away, oh he's found the back of the net! Just 3 minutes in and we have the lead here against Man City. It is the left winger Doué to find the back of the net, what a start. Free kick here for Leicester, pretty far out. Bakayoko's going to take it. It's not enough power on it at all, I don't think. It's a good shot, easy save for the keeper. Man City now trying to work something, really using it to Haaland. Haaland goes to the edge of the box, trying to shut him down. Kovacic goes for the goal, it's a good shot just over the bar. Man City coming forward now, Savinho gets the better of Lewis at right back as he gets down the wings, trying to stand him up. Great defending there though from the boys. We won the ball high up the pitches, Pablo Torre plays in Balogun. Balogun could be in here. It could be to the Man City. Balogun turns, oh that's excellent. Balogun goes for the goal, he's found the back of the net. 33 minutes gone, Leicester 2, Man City 0. Do we have one hand on the trophy already? Savinho now coming forward for Man City, trying to take on Lewis. He's going to put it on the line past Hincapié, but Lewis recovers really well. And half time then we take a 2-0 lead into the half. Great stuff so far from Van Nistelrooy's men. Pablo Torre hasn't really done anything, so I'm going to bring Mason Mount on at attacking midfield. But that's the only change I'm going to make so far. Man City here not panicking as they're going down the wing. Savinho trying to take on Rico Lewis. He's defending really well. Great stuff there. It's been a quiet second half so far as Man City seem pretty content just to play their game. I don't want to rush into anything, although the odd 2 goals down. Leicester coming forward now is Mason Mount, the sub. He's trying to find some space. He's going to try and go for goal perhaps. He is. Goes for goal, good block. Coming forward once again is Leicester. Happy to just hold on to the ball. Man City aren't causing too much pressure. André Santos now, the ball's going to open up. He goes for goal, good save from the keeper. Ball taken shortly for Leicester. Doué with the turn. Plays it into Kosunu. Kosunu out into André Santos. Over to Bakayoko, trying to find space for shot perhaps. He's going to turn well. Bakayoko goes for goal. It's a good shot, great save from the keeper. Man City coming forward now, Kovacic with a good ball into Haaland. A lot of work to do here for Haaland, but Lewis again, he's probably man of the match so far. He's been brilliant today. Putting pressure on here, Man City in the last dying moments, and there is the final whistle. Leicester City have won the Champions League. It was a one-sided affair in the end, but Ruud van Nistelrooy's men have done it. It's been 6 long years of graft. It hasn't always worked out for the Foxes, but today Today it's all worth it with the Champions League win. Let's watch now as the boys in blue make their way to the podium to lift a very suspicious looking Champions League trophy. It's been a long hard campaign, but Leicester are your Champions League winners. Thank you guys for watching, I really do appreciate it. If you liked it, make sure you leave a like and a comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Let me know who to rebuild next, but in the meantime, peace.